What's going on, everybody? PojiForce here. You're watching PojiForce Plays, and welcome back to the Sea of Thieves. Season 5 has begun, and with it comes a whole slew of new content and quality of life improvements, and no doubt also an armada of new players to the game. These new players are going to get to experience everything, old and new, one of which is one of my favorite pastimes in the game. I'm of course talking about fishing. Fishing in Sea of Thieves is a lot more complex than other games though, and I've had more than one player not really understand how to do it. So today I'm going to give you an in-depth guide to fishing in Sea of Thieves that should prove to be useful, whether you're an experienced fisherman, a novice still finding their sea legs, or you just stepped out of the maiden voyage for the very first time. You'll learn how to fish, how to use bait and where to find it, and what you can do with your fish once you've caught them. I'll even have some more advanced tips and tricks, including a way to reel in your fish faster. We're going to start with the basics. To fish in Sea of Thieves, first you need to find any body of water deep enough to hold fish. The ocean is obviously one. You can also fish in streams and ponds, whether it's the streams of Sharkbait Cove or the ponds of Mermaid Hideaway. If you can see fish in the waters, it's good enough to fish. Of course, to fish, you'll need a fishing rod. You'll have the sailor's fishing rod by default, but you can buy other styles of fishing rod from the various equipment merchants at the major outposts. All fishing rods are locked behind commendations, so you may not have many options at the start, but the more you fish, the more fishing rods you'll have to choose from. To bring out your fishing rod, simply access your equipment wheel and navigate to the second wheel, where you'll find your fishing rod at the bottom. If you're playing on mouse and keyboard, you can also bind your fishing rod to a specific key. Mine is set to K. Once you have your fishing rod out, press the mouse 1 button on mouse and keyboard, or X on controller to wind up your cast. Release the button to cast your line. Keep in mind that the longer you hold the button, the further you will cast. A quick tap will put the bobber right in front of you, while a long press will cast the line very far out. If at any point you want to bring your line back in quickly, you can press mouse 2 or B button on controller to immediately bring your hook back in. After casting your line, you will have to wait until a fish bites. Once you get a bite, press X or mouse 1 to set your hook. The fish will swim away some distance and then start to fight you. You will need to pull in the opposite direction from the fish in order to tire it out. If the fish swims to the right, you pull to the left. If the fish pulls left, you pull to the right. If it tries to swim away from you, pull up. Eventually the fish will tire out and you'll now be seeing the line go slack. At this point you're safe to start reeling it in by holding either mouse 1 or X button. The fish won't stay tired for long and you may have to go through several cycles of fighting and reeling to catch your fish. Once you've caught it, it's simply a matter of pressing X on controller or F on keyboard to claim your fish. It takes up one of your 5 slots for carried food, so be sure you have room. Fish come in 2 different varieties, regular fish and trophy fish, and you can tell the difference based on the fish's size. Trophy fish will generally take longer to catch and will be at greater risk of escaping. Speaking of, there are 4 ways that a fish could escape you even after you set your hook. If you pull in the wrong direction, your screen will start to shake and you'll hear a creaking sound before the fish breaks free. This can take a while and is pretty easy to correct. The next way a fish can escape is if you try to reel in while the fish is still fighting you. This gives the same creaking and shaking as pulling the wrong way, but builds up much faster and can be near instant when dealing with a trophy fish. The third method is having the fish or your line cross a solid object, which lets the fish break free instantly. The final way a fish can escape you is if you accidentally press mouse 2 or B button on controller after you have hooked the fish, which will instantly unhook the fish and recall your bobber. So to avoid losing a fish after you have hooked it, be sure you have plenty of room for the fish to maneuver, pay attention to what direction it's going, be patient when it comes to reeling in, and be careful not to hit the cancel button by accident. So now that you've got the basics down, it's important to be sure you have the right kind of bait for the right kind of fish. There are 3 different kinds of bait in the game: earthworms, grubs, and leeches. There are 10 different kinds of fish in the Sea of Thieves. Each has different requirements for location and bait. If you have certain bait and want to know what fish you can catch with it, the tooltip on the bait will tell you what fish it will catch. If you're after a particular fish and want to know what bait you need, you can go to the Hunter's Call in the Reputation tab, where you will see all the fish. The tooltip on the fish will tell you which bait you need to catch them, if any. Each fish also has a requirement of where to fish in order to catch them. Starting from the top, splash tails can be caught in any open water without bait. Plenty fins are catchable in the shores of Plenty. Ancient scales are caught in the Ancient Isles. Wild splashes are caught in the wilds. Devilfish are caught in the Devil's Water. Isle hoppers require no bait, but you need to be near the large islands to catch them. If you are uncertain if an island counts, check to see if the island has someone living on it. If someone lives there, it's considered a large island, and you can catch isle hoppers there. You don't have to be too close, just close enough that you would have seen the banner for the island while approaching. Pondies can be caught in any pond. For battle gills, you have to be near active forts or skeleton ships. Forts are the easier of the two, and if you hear the ominous music, you're close enough. Stormfish can only be caught in storms. If the bell on your ship is ringing on its own, you're deep enough in the storm for stormfish. Wreckers can be caught near any shipwrecks. If you aren't sure if you're close enough, listen for the seagulls overhead. So now you know what you're hunting and what bait you need. How do you get it? You can find bait easily at outposts in the barrels scattered around, though you won't always find the right kind of bait in the quantities you want. You can also dig up bait, and what kind of bait you get will depend on where you dig. Leeches can be found along the shorelines where the water touches the sand. Grubs can be found in any sandy place where you don't find leeches. Earthworms are dug up in grassy areas, though you can end up still getting grubs if too close to the sand. You can only carry 10 pieces of bait at a time, so if you are planning for an extended fishing trip, my recommendation is to get a storage crate to carry your bait in. You can also use it for your fish so you don't run out of room in your pockets. To bait your fishing rod, you first have to have your fishing rod in your hand. Once you do, open your radial menu and you will see an option for bait. Select that option and it will take you to a new radial menu where you can choose from whatever bait you have in your pockets. Once your bait is selected, it will attach to your fishing rod and you're ready to go. You can always change your bait the same way, or pick it up off your hook if you want to fish without bait. Now that you know what bait you need and how to use it, along with all the basics of fishing, you have all the tools you need to be a competent fisherman in the Sea of Thieves. The next step is what to do with all your fresh caught fish. Fish have two primary uses in the Sea of Thieves. They make for pretty good food to heal with, and you can also sell them to the Hunter's Call for money, reputation, and commendations. Before you eat the fish, though, you will want to be sure they are properly cooked. Cooking meat in Sea of Thieves goes through 4 stages: raw, undercooked, fully cooked, and burnt. You're not going to get a good benefit from the fish unless they are fully cooked. Raw will make you throw up instead, and undercooked or burnt gives almost no healing. When properly cooked, fish will heal you for 30% of your health, and provide a passive healing buff that will heal you automatically when you are injured, but not taking damage after a short amount of time. Trophy fish will heal you for 75% of your maximum health, and an even larger passive healing buff. Because of this, fish are actually some of the best food items in the game, with cooked megalodon, cooked kraken, and pineapples being the only thing better than a cooked trophy fish. Each fish can also be eaten from twice before fully consumed, which means having an inventory full of cooked fish effectively doubles your stock of good food on hand. Great in stressful combat situations. But you have to be sure that your fish is fully cooked. The fish will start out raw, then start to change colors. The first time this happens, the fish is now undercooked. It will then brown fully, and you'll start to hear a hissing, popping sound, kind of like bacon grease. That sound is what lets you know it's done cooking and ready to be taken off the stove. If you leave it on for too long, or walk away and forget about it, then it will burn. Burnt fish are even darker, with black splotches all over them, and you will see black smoke coming out of the stove. Leave it on the stove for even longer, and you'll come back to your ship on fire. That'll pull us a lot closer. Our ship's on fire.
Boji, I know what happened.
What? Oh! Oh my god! I left the chicken on the stove!
You left the shark on the stove.
I left the shark on the stove? No! Regular fish only take about 30 seconds to cook, but trophy fish take about a minute. Aside from cooking fish to eat, you can also sell your fish to the Hunter's Call. The Hunter's Call is a trading company which can be found on any seapost. You can identify them by the Hunter's Call flag near their location, as well as of the Hunter's Call at the end of their name. They will pay you for even raw or burnt fish, but perfectly cooked fish rewards the most gold and reputation. Selling fish to them will also make progress towards commendations, which will unlock new kinds of fishing rods at the equipment vendors for purchase. Each species of fish has a rare variant that can sell for a lot of money, so you can make a pretty decent amount as a fisherman. So now that you're a proper fisherman and know where to take your haul, let me share with you some tips and tricks that I've learned in my days on the seas. Some of them you probably already know, but others I would guarantee are something you've never seen before. First is making sure you catch what you want to catch. Just because you're using earthworms in the shores of plenty doesn't mean it will be a plentifin that comes a-calling. So when you're casting out your line, you want to be sure that you keep your bobber as close to you as possible. Keeping the bobber close will make it easier to see which fish is about to take a nibble. So if instead it's a ruby splashtail for the 100th time, you can quickly recall your line with mouse 2 or B button to reel in your line before the little fella takes a bite and wastes your bait. For certain types of fish, there are places that work best for catching them. Pondies work very well at Mermaid's Hideaway because there's a small island in the center of the pond that will keep most PvE threats from getting close to you while you're fishing. The island also counts for isle hoppers, and you can catch plenty fins there with earthworms as well. You can also catch pondies at several of the skeleton forts. Sharkfin Camp, Hidden Springs Keep, and Crow's Nest Fortress all have ponds where you can fish for pondies. If the fort isn't active, you can also guarantee that PvE threats won't come to harass you. If you find yourself at a shipwreck while hunting for wreckers, it's a good idea to pick through the wreck itself. You can often find trophy fish, stormfish, battle gills, and even megalodon and kraken meat in the ship's barrels. Thanks to the new Season 5 quality of life changes, it's easy to gather everything quickly just by bringing a storage crate with you. Stormfish are some of the more challenging fish to catch due to having to be in a storm. And the rarest of them all is the shadow stormfish. The different stormfish variants are also dependent on where you encounter them. Wild stormfish are caught in the wilds. Shore stormfish are caught in the shores of plenty. And ancient stormfish are caught in the ancient isles. There is also the twilight stormfish, which can only be caught at night. The center of the map near the glorious Sea Dogs Tavern isn't considered to be within any of the major zones, which means zone-specific stormfish can't be caught there. That means that only rare variants and night variant stormfish can be caught near the Sea Dogs Tavern. So if you can catch a storm in that area, you're far more likely to catch the rare shadow stormfish than if you were fishing for them anywhere else. Finally, I'm going to show you my secret technique for reeling in fish just a little more quickly than normal. It takes more skill and it's not a dramatic difference, but it can effectively shorten the time you spend on any one fish. I call it the feathering technique. As it turns out, even if you're reeling your line while the fish is fighting against you, you are making progress towards bringing the fish in closer. Doing this does come with the risk of snapping your line, but the key to doing this properly is to listen to the sounds your rod makes and not reel in too much at once. You can hear when your line is about to snap and ease off, give it a second to reset, and then reel some more. You can actually get away with getting some decent progress on your line before the fish even tires. And if the fish is close enough to your boat, you can even reel it in fully while it's still fighting you. Doing just a little reeling while pulling against the fish instead of going through just cycles of pulling and reeling can ultimately shorten how many of those cycles you have to do, which means it's saving you time with each cast. Very important if you're fishing in an area where the conditions could change in a moment, like stormfish or battle gills, or devilfish when a volcano is about to explode. So that's everything you need to know about fishing in Season 5 of Sea of Thieves. I really hope you found this guide useful. Don't forget that I live stream Sea of Thieves on Twitch every Tuesday and alternate Sea of Thieves every other Saturday. I hope I'll see you there. But that's all for now, and until next time, I am PoGForce, and you guys stay awesome. I'll catch you later.